So chapter 5, we're looking at judges. So again, we've covered prosecution, we've covered defense, now we're looking at judges. Again, I'm going to run through and highlight different parts of the chapter. I really want to make sure you're reading the chapter in its entirety as well as looking through the PowerPoints. So what is the role of a judge? Well, we've all seen them on TV. They're basically there to make sure rules are followed, that the trial goes correctly, meaning there's no bias or misconduct by either party. And then sometimes they make decisions that can be reversed from higher courts, or judges that are on higher courts decide whether or not the lower trials judge acted in the best interests of the court, and they can affirm or deny that judge's actions. So how do judges get to be where they are? Well, they can be appointed or they can be elected. So we have different judges here in Stanislaus County. Most of our judges are elected and you vote for them. Administrative judges are appointed. It's just like you apply for a job and you're appointed. So we have partisan elections, nonpartisan elections, gubernatorial appointment, legislative appointment, and then merit selection. And these are the 5 methods of getting into judicial office. We go through partisan, obviously just means you run on a ticket, either Democrat or Republican. Nonpartisan, you don't have to stipulate your party. And then what's the problem with elections? Well, most popular are not necessarily the best candidate. And sometimes voters rarely look at actual evidence of what the judge has done, or I should say the attorney at that time, to become judge. And then the Missouri Plan. So this is talked about in your book on page 101, and it looks at nominating different individuals. So the Missouri Plan essentially was a method in 1940. And it was basically using the merit system. They would find attorneys and non-attorneys that were chaired by a judge, and they would fill judicial vacancies that way. Do merit systems or judicial systems fare out better? I'm going to let you guys kind of look at the pros and cons of this, but there's mixed results, obviously. Merit system means that an individual is picked on the basis of their qualifications, which is always helpful and beneficial. But judicial selection could potentially be, election could be better for the people overall because they're getting to choose who they believe would be best in there. Again, it goes through again. And then which do judges prefer? So some are going to prefer elections if maybe they were in public office previous. Merit selections are going to be more individuals that were not in government-held offices or highlighted offices because they're going to maybe have a little bit more of a resume to show. And then method and diversity. There's no doubt that we can obviously expand on this category for our population. And you have a question this week regarding the diversity on the bench. Predominantly, most judges are older Caucasian males. But we are seeing some diversity put into the bench, and we're seeing individuals selected that are a cross-section of maybe the community that they are on the judicial bench for. And that's kind of what we're pushing for more frequently than not. And then federal court is picked by the President of the United States, and he recommends individuals to take the federal bench, but they do have to pass Senate confirmation as well. Supreme Court, we've probably watched that with Kavanaugh the last few years. They are highly political, and you want to make sure that that individual is going to agree with the social agenda that's going to be pushed forward by the administration. So traditionally, Republicans will put in a Republican candidate, and then Democrats would then put in a Democratic candidate because the determinations they're making normally have to do with social agendas. Obviously, they go through training and they're compensated for that particular training. Depending on what type of law they are adjudicating, it's going to be a little bit tailored towards, say, criminal law, civil law, administrative law. And then obviously there's misconduct and abuse of discretion. And your book talks a little bit about this on page 108. It covers exhibiting prejudice, deliberately aggravating or mitigating an individual's sentence, and then accepting bribes or taking actions against varying parties for political agenda. And what do you think? Should states make it easier to remove judges that are accused of wrongdoing? Right now, it's fairly difficult for them to be terminated, but we want to safeguard, since they do go through all the training, that we're acting on the best interests of individuals. Again, accepting bribes. And then what about sentencing disparities? So oftentimes we have huge disparities in jurisdictional sentencing, especially for particular crimes. And we'll see a lot of issues with court delays and clogged courtrooms for the fact that individuals may be waiting a long time in different jurisdictions like Los Angeles County than they would in small town atmospheres. And again, the last part would be impeachment of an individual, that a judge could be removed from office. But there must be a compelling evidence, and obviously they have the right to a trial in that particular case. And then, again, there can be recall elections, which is essentially undoing electing an individual.